still have to send all of you both of you rather, the PPT now. So we will just quickly revise what we did yesterday. And then we will start off we'll continue with what we were doing yesterday. So before that, Vivek asked me a question right now. Okay, how do we calculate our assets and liabilities, personal assets and liabilities? So what would you say? You have a BCom background. So how would you approach this? Suppose you were asked this question, how will you?
Yes, sir. So we will make firstly balance sheet, I guess, for personal account, for personal on the on for personal stuff or for business purpose.
Business purpose.
So
For
then we have to make the trial balance. Firstly, trial balance we have to prepare. Then trading account and PL account. Then balance sheet, and we can calculate all the stuff.
see, what she is saying, Vivek, is now, they say, you're right, you're absolutely right, Deepti. See, if you want to do this for a business purpose, then in that case, you first have to look at where did you raise the funds for your business? Ask yourself this question. Where did you get the money?
It's a
The
saving.
capital. So the capital is yours.
Yeah.
Capital. Have you borrowed money?
No.
You have not borrowed any money. Okay. Is there any short-term liability, like during the course of your work, is there anything that you have borrowed for 1 month, 2 months, like that?
No, zero.
Then, see, in that case, one side is clear. The liabilities of your business are whatever money you have given to your business. So that should be in the account of the company. Whatever you have given, there should be a bank account in the name of your business.
Right.
And that should be in the bank's account. Let's say you have given 1 lakh, then that should show in the account of the business. After that, we look at the assets that you have bought. What are your business assets? You find out the value of each of the assets. And since yours is a very simple thing, you have given money, that is the liability side. Right. Whatever assets you have bought, that is your asset side. Whatever is the difference between these two, this should reflect in your bank account. This should be there. So that will be the statement of assets and liabilities for your business.
Correct.
If you have been doing this for more than a year, then what Deepti said, that applies. You will have to prepare a trading and profit and loss account of your business, in which you will find out the amount of profit that the business has earned or the amount of loss that the business has earned. Once you do that, after that, you'll get an idea about where you are. If it is a loss, that means your capital will be reduced by that amount. If it is a profit, it will add to your capital. Short story is like this. But later on, when we begin to do the accounting part in this particular course, which will come towards the end of the course, at that point of time, we will be looking at assets, different items of assets, different items of liabilities in detail. So at that point, you will understand this much better. Okay. Now, for yesterday's class, I just want to revise what we had done. So there are two things here, Dipti. I cannot revise everything, but one thing I'll tell you. Yesterday's class, or let me first stop this presentation for a while. Yesterday's class, what we had done was, we first continued with our unit 1, the corporate strategy. And there we looked at specifically the marketing strategy of Cadbury. And we discussed that in some detail. And then we also looked at something called the BCG matrix. So what I will do today is I will send this to you, the PPT that we used. I will send that to both you and Vivek. And what you need to do, Dipti, is that you look at that PPT and then you jot down the questions that you have. It is very possible that you might have some questions, especially with regard to the first part, that BCG part. So look at that. The second part which we discussed was the marketing strategy adopted by Cadbury chocolates. That will give you, once you look at that, it will give you a good idea about how big companies use customer connect. You might remember that when we mentioned value proposition, we also mentioned that there is something called customer connect. And why customer connect becomes a part of the value proposition, that is something you will begin to understand when you look at the Cadbury's campaign. So what you need to do is to look at both these things, jot down any questions that you have, and then next Saturday when we meet, on that day,
Sir, I have watched the YouTube video as Neeraj sir has shared. So I have that a question there on opportunity cost. Like in the numerical portion, I do not find the exact amount
okay.
which is called opportunity.
What is the opportunity?
Yes.
So in any case, we'll be discussing opportunity cost in more detail in another unit. But short part of opportunity cost is, what is the second, let's say that, think of it like this. There are
The
two
second
options
best
before.
alternative option. Second
Alternative option is the opportunity cost.
Opportunity.
Now, in that example, what was happening is that we said that 10% was the opportunity cost. That means he will earn 10%. That is the second best option. If he doesn't invest in the machinery, if he doesn't invest in that project, whatever it was, that project you can say, then in that case, he can invest that money somewhere else where he will earn 10%. So whatever is that alternative that he has, that alternative will be used for discounting. So when we discount, we will use that. Because if you want to calculate present value, then it is necessary to understand at what rate you will discount the cash flows. You understand these terms I'm using, or is there a problem?
No, sir, I'm getting it.
It's okay, na? So you need to basically just fix that rate. This is the rate. So opportunity cost is generally one way of doing it. Now, there are other ways of doing this. For example, you can think of cost of capital. If the cost of capital, see, your return should always be higher than your cost. So another way of looking at this is that if I discount my cash flows with the cost of capital, if the cost of capital, let's say, is 8 or 9%, and I'm discounting it with that, that will, and if you get a positive return, let's say the NPV is positive, then what will happen? You will then be in a position to say that, yes, this particular, the return here is more than my cost of capital. Because if the return is positive, we can do this calculation later on in Excel and all, and you'll see. If you are getting a positive one, a positive NPV, that means, let's say we invested 10 lakhs. You got returns for 5 years. Vivek, you'll also recall this. You are getting returns for 5 years. You're discounting at 10%. And at the end of it all, you're ending up with 11,37,000. So you're getting 1,37,000. That means that the actual return that you are getting from your project is more than 10%. And in that particular example, I had calculated what is known as the internal rate of return, I had calculated that, and that came to 15.3%. So the moment you discount something by the opportunity cost, and then if you get a positive value there for your NPV, for the net present value, then it means that you are earning more than your opportunity cost or the cost of capital or whatever it is, which means that your decision is justified. Basically, that is the point. The BCG point you followed, no problems there. The Boston Consultancy Group thing. So that is a very standard way of evaluating different products in a business which has multiple products. So if it's a big company, it has many products. It is putting money in different products. So they need to know in which to continue investing and in which to, like pull out. Okay. So we will then continue with, it's good. If you have already looked at the very good thing you did, Deepti, of looking at it. So we can then continue with this shareholder wealth maximization. Okay. So coming back to this, basically what happens is that if I do a financial calculation, and in that financial calculation, I find that my NPV is positive. That means whatever I had invested, I'm getting back more than that. In a simple layman's way, it just means that I'm getting back more. If you're getting back more than you put in, then you are adding to the wealth of the company. See, just like if you invest in a bank and the bank, let's say it gives you interest, at the end of 1 year, you have added to your own wealth. So similarly, if you, in a company, if you are able to put your money in some project and you find that theoretically you are getting a net NPV which is positive, that means this NPV, positive NPV, should result in a increase in the wealth of the company. So that is a way of creating wealth for your shareholders. Because remember, the wealth part in the company, that part is going to be the privilege of the shareholders, because they are the people who have invested in the company. Now, coming back, what else is there in this slide which we need to revise? I think that's it. So remember one thing here, the timing of the future benefits is critical. When you invest, the last point making to Vivek yesterday was that sometimes when you invest in a big project, what happens is that it takes time for the entire project to take off. Like especially in a capital intensive project, let's say you're putting up a big auto plant. Then, getting the plant, getting the machines, making everything, like fit for production, that takes time. Now, suppose it takes, let's say, 18 months or 2 years. Then for those 2 years, you will not be getting any returns. You won't be getting anything. So whatever you invest, if your actual production begins in the 3rd year, that means the first revenue that you will earn, the first sales that you will make will be in year 3. That means whatever cash flow you're going to get, when you calculate today, the present value of that cash flow will have to be discounted by a factor of whatever it is. Let's say I'm taking 10, so it will be 1.10 to the power 3. That means it's going to be reduced. Now, if despite this, at the end of the day, you come up with a net present value, which is positive, then you know that you have a good project which has a good return. Because remember, the present value is reduced by the delay in receipt of revenue. And despite that, you are getting a positive figure. So just to show you that thing again, look at the difference here. 5 years. The first 3 lakhs was 2,72,000 present value. After 3 years, it is 225. 2,25,000. So let's say you are beginning here. The first return you are getting is in year 3. Then the present value, the starting point is here, 225. And then it goes on for as long as the project continues to give you revenue. Now, if let's say you estimate that it will give me revenue for 5 years. So if from years 3 to 8, you get revenue from the project, you discount it by according to the year in which it is received. And if at the end of that all you still end up with a positive figure for your NPV, that means that your return is really very good. And that justifies the investment in that project. This is the logic here. All this which we are doing, ultimately it comes down to taking a decision. Should I invest or should I not invest? And here it is very clear, when I have a positive NPV, I can convince my board that yes, this is something worth investing. Now, next thing here is just look at this point here now. The wealth created by the company is reflected in the market value of the shares of the company. Now, here, I want you people to understand one thing. See, on the one hand, you have the actual profits being made by the company. Your profit, that is a matter of accounts. How much profit did the company make? But there is a different type of value which is being created, it is influenced by the accounts, but which is not a mathematical thing. And that is the value of your shares. Let us say that you, in the beginning, when you went to the market, your share had a value of 100 rupees. Each share had a value of 100 rupees. You sold a few lakh shares, and the market value of your company was the total number of shares that you sold multiplied by 100. Now what happens is, as your company begins to do better, as it begins to perform, जैसे जैसे वो प्रॉफिट कमाने लगती है कंपनी, क्या होता है? People will be attracted to your company. They will want to buy your shares. And when people want to buy your shares, at that point of time, the demand for your shares will go up. And when the demand for your share goes up, the price of the share will also go up. Now, whether people are attracted to a good company, whether a profit of 20% will attract more people than a profit of 18%, this is not a mathematical thing. Because ultimately, when people invest in your company, they are making a certain assumption about your future performance. How will you perform in the future? And that is only a guess. That is based on whatever facts they come to know about your company. If you, let's say you, in the morning, after 9 o'clock, all the business channels, they'll be talking about the share market. You look at Z Business, for example. If, anyway, this is not your, you will not have the time for trading in shares because this is not that age for you. I have more time than you, so I take some interest. Less money, more time. A retired person has a lot of time, is very rich in time, not rich in money. That's the way it works. But since we have time, we have a look at these things. And
Sir,
when
I do look sometimes.
Excellent. Huh? So what do you observe there? When you look
I
at those
also had a portfolio from 2019, but I stopped recently.
Okay. So both of you, when you look at Z Business or any of the news channels which deal with business, what do you see with regard to their, the way they speak? What are they speaking about?
So they are speaking about Sensex, that it falls or it bull or
Okay,
bear.
that is one. No, you're mixing up things, Deepti. Don't go from Sensex to bull or bear.
Yes, yes.
I am only asking you to remember the part where they speak about companies. Most of them, especially in Z business, at 9 o'clock till, I think it goes on till 12 o'clock or even more. But I have off and on looked at it between 9 and 11 or 9 and 10 mostly. So you will see, they will discuss specific companies. And when they discuss,
The activities about the companies, their uh, performance in the market, etc. They discuss about like new plans, new ideas that they are launching this. They are offering the shares to public. They talking this.
very good, very good. Now, when they discuss, at the end, they come out with a recommendation. You'll notice that they will normally say that you should buy this company shares. This is the range in which you should buy. Let's say the company is trading today at 1900. But they will say, try to buy this now, like going forth between 1900 and say 2000. And you can expect it to go up in the future to 2200 to 2300, something like that. And they will tell you that this is a medium-term investment. The value is likely to go up. Now, when a person says this, that the value is likely to go up, that means he's talking about the future. And
The
anybody who is
estimation about the shares of the company.
in the future,
In the estimation, yes.
the estimate in the future. This is, I'm emphasizing the word future because it is influenced by the present performance, but you are making an estimate about the future. And when you buy something, when you buy in a company, like Vivek is saying, he has looked at this since 2019, unless you are only trying to make quick money, you are just listening to people and just investing and hoping, like a gambler, that it will go up. We will
Sir,
leave the great gamblers out here.
it's
We will
actually a little bit wrong. From 19 to up to now, I am holding the shares. If you will listen that price, so it will be very much higher. I purchased Tata Motors on 78 rupees. Still, I am holding it.
okay,
There are
good.
there are lots of means I invest in means I also believe in the holdings, hold and earn.
Then you are an investor.
Right.
See, that is another thing we'll be discussing when we come to the relevant unit. But it's very nice with both of you. You are coming out with things which are ahead. So when we get there, it will be more interesting for both of us to discuss this. Now, when you bought Tata Motors, think of it like this. The company was performing well. There were certain prospects before the company. You thought that if I invest and hold, then in that case, tomorrow the value of this share is going to go up. Why? Why did you think like that? Because you felt that the performance of Tata will be good. But nobody knows how much it will go up. See, it is a guess. It's an estimate, guesstimate, if you want. It is just a guesstimate of what is going to happen. Maybe there are people who are very good at it. Maybe they can give you a fairly good idea about the fact that whether it will go up or whether it will go down. But I don't think there is anyone who can tell you exactly how much it is going to go up or how much it is going to go down. If it was that easy, then the share market would have been the best place to make money. Why work? Everybody could have just gone there. But it is uncertain. Now, these things which we are saying, the future is uncertain. Because the share market prices are ultimately determined by lakhs and lakhs of investors who are making their individual decisions. All those who are participating in the market are making decisions based on their perception. For example, your perception that Tata Motors was a good buy for you in 2019 influenced you into making a buy decision. Somebody else may have thought that no, Tata is not so good. It's a desi brand, it won't survive the competition. So they may have sold. That is why you were able to buy. No? Somebody would have sold, otherwise, how would you have bought? Now, the
Right.
point here is that as the number of sellers and buyers keep, hitting the market, at the end of the day, you find that it is a result of the thousands and thousands of investors who are making their own individual decisions. And this is why the share market is unpredictable. Now, when we say that wealth created by the company is reflected in the market value of the shares, we are also saying that the market value of the shares is unpredictable because we don't know what the market value will be. Because it is going to depend on all those millions of investors who are taking decisions, on their own. So this is a tricky thing here. You can do very well. You can perform very well. Your NPV may be positive. Later on, everything may work out very well for you. You may earn a lot of profit. You may send the correct signals to the market. But it is very difficult for you to actually estimate what the value of your company will be in the days ahead. Because the market value of the shares is based on the perception of the shareholders of the quality of the firm's financial decisions. All you can hope for is that these millions of investors, guided by the analysts like in Z Business, who, if they take a positive view, their viewers will also tend to take positive views. And these people, if they all begin to take a positive view, the chances are that they will buy your shares, demand will go up, and the prices of your company shares are also likely to go up. If, on the other hand, the shareholders are not satisfied with the way you perform, even though you are doing your best, you are earning, let's say, 20%, but their expectations was much higher. HDFC Bank, a few years back, it was known as the 20% bank. It was known as a 20% bank because every year it would always give you a profit of at least 20%. And people were used to the company getting 20% profit, even though 20% profit for a bank is a very, very high figure. See, a return of 20% on your equity for a bank is a very, very high figure, and that too for a retail bank like HDFC. I have been a banker, I know. It is a very, very difficult thing to achieve, and to achieve it consistently is even more difficult. But what was the result of this? लोगों की उम्मीदें बढ़ती गई. अब अगर कभी HDFC का परफॉर्मेंस 20 से कुछ कम हो जाए, 18 या 15 हो जाए, which by any other standard is very good, लेकिन लोगों को लगता था कि अरे यार ये तो हमारे उम्मीदों पे खरा नहीं उतर सका. Therefore, they might decide emotionally to sell the shares. In which case, even though you performed pretty well, the sell pressure on your shares will lead to the actual price of the shares going down. So it is a very tricky game here. Okay. So this slide is basically telling you this basic point, that your value in the share market ultimately depends on the actions of a large number of investors and shareholders and analysts who look at your company and take decisions. So you will not be able to actually, there will not be a direct correlation between the amount of profit that you earn and the amount your share value goes up. Just remember that. This is just a chart that I had made just to give you an idea about this. So the management of a company's finances, financial management here, I'm not referring to the subject financial management. I'm talking about financial management of a company. Now, the management of the company, one of their major goals is the maximization of shareholder value. That is one of the goals that they have. As we'll discuss, there will be other goals also, but this is one fundamental goal. Now, this is based on financial decisions. See, maximization of shareholder value is based on financial decisions. And the financial decisions themselves are based on these three: investment decisions, liquidity management, and dividend decisions. This is a repetition. Don't look at this. Investment decisions mean, where should I invest the money in which project should I invest the capital that I have? One. Liquidity management means, how much cash, liquid cash, do I need to have with me? Or how much liquid assets do I need to have with me? These words, liquid assets, are things which you will understand better. For the moment, just remember this, that liquid assets are assets which can be converted into cash in a very, very short time. For example, apart from, for a personal, let's say your personal finances, apart from the cash that you have in your bank, actual cash, you may have fixed deposits in the bank. Now, the fixed deposit in the bank is something which is very near cash, because it can be converted into cash in maybe a few hours. Similarly, if you have invested in mutual funds, those mutual funds can be converted into cash maybe in 2 days. If you have invested in shares, maybe 1 day. So any investment which can be liquidated within 2-3 days, you consider that to be a near cash investment or a liquid investment. Now, any company requires a certain amount of cash with it to meet day-to-day contingencies. And for that, it is necessary that they focus on this liquidity management thing. Later on, when we'll do accounts, you will see that there is an area in which we look at the current assets and the current liabilities, something which Deepti will be very familiar with. Okay.
Yes.
And then we have the dividend decisions. Now, Deepti, can you tell me why the dividend decisions are important here? Any idea about that?
Sir, company may have future plans to proceed with, which needs money, and
Yes.
if the company declares a dividend, there will be shortage of money. So
Yes.
company decided how much to pay dividend this time, or will the dividend will be declared or not. So decisions is
Yes.
necessary to take by the
Perfect.
company.
Perfect. So basically, Vivek, what is Deepti saying here? That in a dividend decision, you have made profits. Let's say you have made 100 rupees profit. Now, you have two basic things to do. One is you want to pay some amount to your shareholders as the reward for investing in your company. भाई इन्होंने आपका शेयर्स खरीदा, इसको कुछ रिटर्न तो दोगे. So that is one point. The other thing is, आपके कंपनी के सामने ढेर सारे अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं, जैसा आपको लगता है. You feel कि I have lots of opportunities for expansion. Now for me to expand, I require money. तो अगर मैं डिविडेंड दे देता हूं तो मेरे पास पैसे कम. अगर मैं सारे पैसे लगा देता हूं इन्वेस्टमेंट अपने एक्सपेंशन में, तो हमारे शेयर होल्डर्स हो सकता है नाखुश हो जाए. So this is a very tricky decision about how to manage this particular part. And this is also a part of the general financial management or general management of the company. Now, the other aspect is that whatever decisions you take with regard to your investment and your dividend, these will ultimately be, they will all have these two sides. One will be return, one will be risk. For example, if you invest in a project, you are expecting to get a return of 15%. But the risk is there that if what the assumptions that you have made about the future sales, if that does not come true, if for some reason there is some disruption in the, let's say in the economy or in the political economy, think of how people were affected in 2008 when that entire recession came. Think of how people were affected when the Ukraine war started. तो अगर इस तरह की कोई भी चीज होती है तो एनीबडी लेट्स से हु इज उसके सप्लाई चेन में अगर कहीं पे भी इंटरनेशनल वर्ड आ रहा है, some part is either imported or some goods they have are exported, they will be affected by international developments. So there is a risk always. अपने इकोनॉमी में लेट्स से अभी इलेक्शंस हुआ, इलेक्शंस में अभी जैसे जो सरकार बनी, so since it is a repeat of the old government, they are staying, so we expect some sort of stability. Lekin suppose somebody had not come with a very clear majority, then you will find different political parties trying to take their share from the share of the pie. When that happens, there will be naturally some instability. When there is instability, your chances of doing good business, that will tend to go down. So these are all, there is a return definitely, which everything stays okay, you'll get a return. But if there something bad happens, if there is a problem, then it is likely that you will, the risk of not getting the investment back, that is also there. So it's a very, very tricky thing to manage. So the CEO takes investment decisions considering the overall risk. There is always a trade-off between risk and return. मतलब आप risk अगर नहीं लेते हैं, if you don't take risk, you will never get a return. If you chase very high returns, then your risk goes up. इन दोनों चीजों के बीच में एक बैलेंस मेंटेन करना, that is a very, very tricky thing. Higher the risk, higher the return, and vice versa. So if you're chasing a high return, you must know that you also have a very high risk. So the CEO walks a fine line. बहुत पतली सी टाइट रोप वॉक है सीईओ के लिए कि हम क्या करें. इफ ही इज वेरी कंजर्वेटिव, पैसे नहीं लगाता है, रिस्की प्रोजेक्ट्स वो नहीं लेता है, देन द रिटर्न इज वेरी लो. एंड इफ ही इज एडवेंचरस, अगर वो डिलेर होता है, बढ़ जाता है और रिस्की प्रोजेक्ट्स लेता है, then there is a chance that he may lose the investment. And the good CEO is one who is able to do this year after year. Every year, he has to be able to take decisions like this. Now, project A, let's say the expected return is 12%, project B it is 15%. Risk-free rate is 3%. Standard deviation is 1%. Risk-adjusted return is 9%. इसमें हमारा risk-adjusted return is 6% in project B. Now, अभी risk-free rate क्या है, standard deviation क्या है, इसको अभी फिलहाल standard deviation को just understand it like this. If the standard deviation is higher, it indicates a higher risk. ठीक है? Think of it like this. If the standard deviation is higher, there is a chance of a higher risk for you. Chance क्या है? It means there is a higher risk. Now, what you notice here is, if I go for a slightly lower return of 12%, then my standard deviation is lower. It is lower than 2 at least. And my risk-adjusted return is 9%. That means, taking into account the risk, I am likely to make a return of 9%. Expected at 12. अगर risk वाला काम आ गया, I will end up with 9. And some things don't go as I have projected. I will still get 9. In project B, I am hoping to get 15, but the risk is higher. Standard deviation is higher. Here, if things go bad, I will be lucky to get a 6% return. Basically, हम क्या दिखाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि if I chase a higher return, I should be prepared for a higher risk. Basic point ये है. 12% में there was a chance कि अगर काम खराब भी थोड़ा होता है तो हमें 9% मिल जाए. लेकिन अगर 15% हम करते हैं, then and the standard deviation goes up, then getting a return of 6% also will be good for. Now, as a CEO, आप बाकी इन सब चीजों को छोड़ दीजिए. आप सिर्फ एक चीज देखिए कि आप 12 अगर लेते हैं, if your decision is not so good, you will still end up with 9. 9 आपको मिल जाएगा, लेकिन 12 से ज्यादा मिलने का चांस नहीं है. अगर आप प्रोजेक्ट बी में जाते हैं तो you look at 15%. अगर सब ठीक ठाक रहा, you will get 15. लेकिन अगर कुछ चीज कहीं पर खराब हो जाती है, then your return will drop to 6. और अगर वो 6% पर आ गया, तो most probably it will be less than the cost of your capital. इसका मतलब है कि आप जिस रेट पर आपने अपना कैपिटल को रेज किया था, या बैंक से जिस रेट पर आपने पैसा लिया था, उससे भी कम कमाई होगी आप. This is the risk which you have. So, this particular thing, when a decision is made by the company, they will be looking at these charts and they will be thinking, what should we do? But ultimately, it is a matter of temperament of the CEO and his ability to, his intuition, I think, to some extent. And then finally, his judgment of the market. This is the basic thing. So project A has a lower return, but the risk-adjusted return is actually higher than project B. Conservative अगर आप हैं, तो probably आप जाएंगे with project A. If you are not conservative, you want to really take a chance, you will go with project B. थोड़ा समझ में आया? This okay? Deepti, you're okay with this?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Now, let us look at another thing. What are stakeholders? एक तो शेयर होल्डर होता है ना.
Sir, all the person who are invested in the company, who are the creditors or debtors of the creditors of the company.
Okay, creditors of the company मतलब जिन्होंने पैसे दिए हैं कंपनी.
Yes, sir.
Whom the company has borrowed money.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That is one. Okay, तो basically the creditors एक जिन्होंने अपना पैसा लगा के शेयर खरीदा है, वो भी.
Yes, sir. Debenture
Shareholder.
holders भी. Debenture holders.
डिबेंचर तो ये में डेट वाले में चले गए, मेरे क्रेडिटर्स में आ जाएंगे. और ये जो है तो हमारे जो शेयर होल्डर्स हैं, दे हैव इक्विटी शेयर्स, सो दे आर शेयर होल्डर्स. सो दीज आर 2 कैटेगरीज. इसके अलावा What is the meaning of the word stake? Somebody please Google this. Look at the meaning of the word stake.
Foreign investor. You can take
Sir,
the
a part
example
of
of
a
foreign
company.
investor.
No, what is the word they are using?
Sir, stake means a part of a company.
Okay. Stake means a part of a company. Now, how many people have a stake in the company? Let me ask you this question.
Sir, the investors and the owner itself
हाँ,
and all the
क्रेडिटर्स हो
invest.
गए,
Yes,
क्रेडिटर्स
sir.
हो गए जो पैसे दिए, उसके अलावा
Yes. और
अगर कंपनी कल
जिसको
बंद हो
पैसे दे.
जाती, think of it like
Yes.
this, if the company shuts down tomorrow, who are the people who will be affected?
Sir, the financial institutions, the investors, the debtors, and the owner itself, and also the board of directors.
Everybody will be affected.
दीप्ति, आप फाइनेंशियल साइड से आगे नहीं बढ़ पा रहे हैं. आई एम ट्राइंग माय बेस्ट टू मेक यू से
Sir,
एम्प्लॉइज.
consumers. Acha, employers.
Yes, consumers, employees,
Consumer.
okay, government, society, everybody has some stake in that company. देखो, society has a stake because this company provides employment. अगर ये कल सपोज करो टाटा मोटर्स क्लोजेस डाउन, ठीक है, एज एन इन्वेस्टर विवेक विल लूज सम मनी, but everybody working in Tatas, they will lose their jobs.
Yes.
All those people who were hoping to, who are entering the job market and hoping to get a job in a company like Tata's, suddenly they find that this company has closed down. Now this company will not be generating any more jobs. Okay? So two categories here clearly. Now all the vendors of Tata Motors. Who are the vendors? Everybody who
Wholesaler,
supplied to
retailer.
them. Everybody who supplied to them, kuch bhi, they would ancillary parts, anything which they supplied to the Tatas, those people will be out of business. Because they used to sell whatever they produced to Tatas as per the specifications of Tata. Now suddenly they will find that Tata is gone. What will we do? So they are affected. Now, the consumer, if the consumer is affected, because everybody who bought, let's say, Tiago cars or Zest cars or Tata trucks or whatever, all these people will now find that that option is no longer there. Now they have to go for maybe Hyundai, some other substitute, which is much more expensive. Maruti doesn't make electric vehicles. So if electric vehicles closes down, the other option will be to go to Hyundai, let's say, which is expensive. If the other petrol cars close down, the factory closes down and there are no more Tata petrol cars there, once again, the alternatives will be all very expensive. So consumers are affected. And at the same time, the entire distribution chain, the dealers, everybody who was part of the process of selling the vehicles, all of them are also affected. Now, all of these people have a stake in Tatas. You understand now? Deepti?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And Vivek sometimes takes a 1 minute break. Huh? He has some things to do. So anyway, so basically, then there are other things here. So we have all these people who want the company to perform and to look after their interests. So when we talk about corporate objective and we write the word stakeholders, we are suddenly expanding the objectives of the company beyond wealth maximization. Now it is no longer about just making money. There are other things coming here. Okay. In that context, let us look at the agency problem. Where is Vivek? I'm sure you have come across this agency problem here. Deepti? Deepti, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So when we talk about the agency problem, we are basically trying to say that there is a distinction between the owners. So when you try to look at stakeholders, the first persons you mentioned were the owners, because they are the largest shareholders. The owners are generally the promoters, they are the largest shareholders. So they are the people who actually started the company. But most of these owners who start the company, they cannot run the company on their own. Many of them do not have the managerial competence or the technical competence to actually run the company. So what do? They hire people. They hire people, let's say, the CEO is hired, the other general managers are hired, then below that, other people are hired. And then finally, you have the grassroots level employees are there. All these people are hired. And all these people, ultimately, they work for the company. But within the company, the top layer, that part, you can think of them as the executives of the company, who are actually running the company and who are taking the decisions. These people, they are not the same as the owners. This you can understand. No? See, the owner, let's say even if the owner is the CEO, but he is the CEO only in name. He doesn't have the time or the energy to sit every day and look at every problem that the company has and to manage it. That he cannot do. Only the executives whom he has and who may be a part of the board of directors, only those people actually run the company. For example, in a bank, in a private bank, the ownership is very clear. Okay, so you will have a promoter there also. You will have large shareholders. But do they manage the bank? Do they take decisions about the bank? No. There are general managers at the top who are members of the board. And there are some outside members, independent directors. You know all this. They come from outside. So in the case of a bank, there are even directors from the government of India, banking division. There are RBI directors. All these people are there. But the actual running of the bank, the day-to-day running operations of the bank, that is being done by the general managers. And their boss, generally the managing director. But these are all professionals. They may have shares in the company, but they do not owe their position as general manager or managing director to the fact that they own shares. It is because of their competence as managers that they have managed to reach that position. So they are not owners by any chance. These guys are management. They are the managing. For example, we talk about the corner office. You know, the CEO sits in the corner office. And so these guys, or we also call it the C-suite. You've heard this word? The C-suite. Okay, so the C-suite is what? All the CTO, CMO, all the C and O's and different range of alphabets in between. These are the people who stand at the head of their particular departments. They are all paid employees. So they are not owners. And it is these paid employees, the top level, who actually run the company. Now, keep that in mind. Now you think of another thing. You have somewhere in your BCom, you would have read about the concept of principal and agent. हाँ कहीं पे principal and agent. और अगर नहीं था तो it may have been there in an indirect way, but I will just you will remember. Let me just tell you, you will remember. कहीं ना कहीं पर तो दीप्ति आया ही होगा. See, suppose you appoint someone, you give someone a power of attorney. You understand power of attorney? You are
Yes.
basically authorizing someone to act on your behalf. Let us say in a business environment, you enter into an arrangement with someone in a foreign country because you can't go there to buy a certain type of, let's say, think of anything which can be important. Let's say a certain type of
Textile.
okay, textiles. Textiles is not exactly, let's say, some technology, medical equipment. Okay. So you get someone there in Germany. Look, you go to the top German companies and you get me MRI machines. I am interested in MRI machines. आपने सुना विवेक अभी जो बात हो रही थी?
Just I listened that example of recently invented means technology.
नहीं. Before that, I will just I'm trying to explain to you. Look at the slide. It says the agency problem. Okay. So I'm trying to explain कि जो owners होते हैं company के, they do not manage the company. The owners have invested their money. उनके बदौलत वो company, let's say, go ahead. Dipti,
So
go.
the board of directors act on behalf of the owners. The owners appoint the board of directors so
Yes.
that they manage day-to-day work because the real owners can't do that.
Very good. So there is a distinction now. दो खेमे में बट गए लोग. One group is the owner. उनके पैसे लगे हुए. लेकिन जो management of the company जो है, those are paid employees. Those are paid high level employees. No doubt, they are very high level employees. वो किसी माने में कम नहीं है. They are all very eminent people, but they are paid. They do not own the company. Now, I was saying this is one thing you remember. There is a distinction between owner and management. Now I'm trying to explain to you the concept of principal and agent. Now let's say that you have a company in India which sells medical equipment. And you have a tie-up with many hospitals in India. You have to sell them MRI machines. Let's say there is a demand for MRI machines. And the best MRI machines, according to you, are available in Germany. Okay, so Siemens वगैरह इस type की company.
Siemens is the best one.
Siemens is the best. You are in the from the pharma, so ये मेरा चलो तुक्का सही लग गया ये Siemens.
No, sir.
So what to negotiate? You need someone. You want to have someone in Germany who will act on your behalf. Basically, this person, you are authorizing him to go, you are sending him specifications. This is the type of machine I want. You go to Germany, look at Siemens, look at other companies if you want, and you tell me what is the best machine I can get at this in this price range. Because I have to supply this to some top hospitals, or it is a big order. Now, this person who is acting on your behalf, he has some certain authority. Na? He can select which company to buy from. He can select the model of machine. and he can negotiate on the price. You have authorized him. There is a legal document. This person is your agent. In legal terms, this person is your agent. You are the principal. You are the main person, but you cannot go to Germany. So you have entered into this arrangement with this German national who will be working on your behalf for a commission. He is working for a commission. Simple point is that you are principal, he is the agent. Therefore, the relationship between you is that of an agency. देखो, agency word we use very casually, but it has a legal, when you get into this company law thing or commercial law, this same word begins to have a legal connotation. The relationship is that of an agency. Now, the moment you understand this, you can easily appreciate that in the case of the company also, the relationship between the management and the owners is the same. The management is like an agent of the owner. ठीक है? This part is clear. Now,
Yes.
shareholders own the company, managers are running the company. Management is an agent of the shareholders and should ideally run the company in the interest of the shareholders. यहाँ पे shareholders जो हम बोल रहे हैं, because I am using the word shareholders for the top shareholders, actually the promoters of the company. It is in that sense. But basically, technically speaking, any shareholder is a part owner of the company. Any shareholder is a part owner of the company. Correct? Now, the management is the agent. Okay? Just keep this in mind. Owners का क्या interest? They want to increase their returns to the maximum. Okay? Managers का क्या है? Managers का interest at a very basic level is कि उनकी personal salaries ज्यादा हो, उनका जो terms of employment है that should be good, उनकी जो perquisites हैं, जो perks मिलते हैं वो अच्छी हो, और सबसे बड़ा उनका क्या ये है जो रिक्वायरमेंट है कि their job should be safe. They do not want to take decisions which will be very risky. एक मैनेजर अपने नौकरी को बचाने के लिए क्या चाहेगा कि भाई कंपनी जो हमारी है वो जिस लीक पर चल रही है उस पर चलती रहे, लेट इट रन, काम चल रहा है, माल बिक रहा है, कुछ पैसे बन रहे हैं, हमारी सैलरी आ रही है, और क्या चाहिए? इट्स वेरी सिंपल. बट द ओनर may have much bigger dreams. Owner के पास पैसे की कमी नहीं है, he already has the money. See, he has reached that stage where he is comfortable with the money that he has. अब आज के दिन में उसको क्या चाहिए? He wants to create a company which will be among the best. He wants कि भाई आप और बड़ा करो मेरे कंपनी. Let me give terrific returns. तो इसमें होता क्या है कि जो मैनेजर्स के जो थॉट्स और जो ओनर्स के जो इच्छाएं हैं, इन दोनों के बीच में एक फासला आ जाता है. सो देयर इज अ स्लाइट गैप बिटवीन द थिंकिंग ऑफ द एंड द थिंकिंग ऑफ द मैनेजमेंट. Managers may look for survival, take low risk decisions even though the returns are low. अभी हमने क्या देखा था in that example कि अगर आप 12% रिटर्न को खोज रहे हैं, it is a low risk decision, standard deviation भी low, risk adjusted return भी 9 है, manager will prefer to go with this. But the owner will say, yeah, take a risk. रिस्क ले ही लो तो क्या हो. एंड द ओनर के मन में ये भी है ना कि अगर मैनेजर काम सही नहीं किया तो इसको निकाल देंगे. आई विल गेट अ डिफरेंट फेलो. Nobody can replace the owner. See, so this point you need to understand that the interests of the management and the interests of the owners are not always the same. कई बार इन दोनों के बीच में एक फासला होता है. It is different. And that is the root of what is called the agency problem. ये एक माने कंपनीज में remember this. Now, to make sure that the managers are working as per your desires, you may have to incur, as an owner, you may have to incur certain costs. So costs are incurred when management decisions result in decline in share prices. Okay? सपोज करो कि बहुत कंजर्वेटिव मैनेजमेंट है. ओनर्स के इच्छा के विपरीत मैनेजमेंट बहुत कंजर्वेटिव डिसीजंस लेती है. दे टेक, ओनर्स डोंट वांट देम टू बी सो कंजर्वेटिव, बट मैनेजमेंट्स आर लुकिंग फॉर सर्वाइवल एंड दे रिमेन वेरी वेरी कंजर्वेटिव. इफ दैट हैपेंस, the share market, all those investors who we were talking about, they will now begin to feel that this company is not going to do very well in the future. ये 20% रिटर्न वाली कंपनी है नहीं. ये हद से हद 10% रिटर्न लाएगी. इससे बेटर तो कोई और कंपनी कर लेगी. तो पैसे वहां क्यों ना लगाएं? Why put money here? So what will happen is, maybe they will begin to sell your shares. तो उनके पास ऑप्शंस बहुत हैं. You are just one investment for them. Investors may decide कि no, it's too conservative. तो ये अपने बचाव में इंटरेस्टेड है. वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू मेक एनी सीरियस मनी हियर. तो शेयर प्राइसेस डाउन होता है. अगर शेयर प्राइसेस डाउन हुआ, व्हाट इज द इम्पैक्ट ऑन द ओनर? उस पर क्या असर पड़ा? दीप्ति, if the share prices decline, what will be the impact on the owner?
Sir, in future, the company will not get the credit easily.
नहीं, वो उतना दूर तक मत जाओ. थिंक इमीडिएटली क्या फर्क पड़ेगा. You are, let's say, the 50% owner of a company.
Making profit will
Not
be
profit, not profit, Deepti. The shares that you have will lose value immediately.
Yes, sir.
So the moment, see, you have a huge block of shares. Agar every share loses some value, let's say it loses 10% of its value, that means your personal wealth has also gone down by 10%. Because owners के साथ क्या है? They are the biggest beneficiaries of the increase in share prices, but they are also the biggest losers when share prices decline. Okay. So, agar management is very conservative, despite the directions of the owners, and because of that, if the share market decides to sell shares, जो नेट पोजीशन है वो सेल का हो जाता है, more shares are sold than shares are bought, then the result is likely to be a decline in the value of the shares. And the value of the shares अगर decline होगा, this can result in a decline in the personal wealth of the promoters. Now, that is one cost. Management को अगर आप control नहीं कर पाते हो, you pay the cost because in terms of decline in the share prices, resulting in a reduction in your wealth. This is one cost. Other cost can be, अगर हम चाहते हैं कि मैनेजमेंट जो है वो वही काम करे जो हम चाहते हैं, that again results in trying to incentivize the manager. अब उसको incentives चाहिए कि भाई आप जो आप कह रहे हैं वो आप अगर करना है तो पैसे और दो. वन वे, इसका क्या बीच का रास्ता क्या है? मैनेजर को भी ओनर बना, ट्राई टू मेक द मैनेजर एन ओनर. हाउ डू आई डू दैट? I do that by giving them shares in the company. And this is where you have the concept of a employee stock option. जो concept है, it comes from this. कि जो हमारे employees हैं, especially the top employees, छोटे employees की बात यहाँ पर आप उनको इनके बारे में सोचिए भी नहीं. They have no stake in this. They have their salary, वो काम करेंगे, नहीं पसंद आएगा, they will find another company. उनके एक्शन से ओनर्स को शायद ही कोई फर्क पड़ता है. बट द टॉप मैनेजमेंट, द ओनर इज वेरी इंटरेस्टेड इन द टॉप मैनेजमेंट बिकॉज द डिसीजंस आर टेकन बाय द टॉप. नाउ हाउ डू आई मेक द टॉप मैनेजमेंट कम टू माय टीम? हमने ये कहा ना कि जो प्रिंसिपल और एजेंट के बीच में डिफरेंसेस है, विच मीन्स कि द प्रिंसिपल इज इन वन टीम, मैनेजमेंट इज इन वन टीम. अलग अलग है, दोनों के इंटरेस्ट्स भी अलग अलग. So how do I make the managers join my team? हमारे साथ वो हो जाएं और हमारे तरह सोचने लगे. एक तरीका ये हो सकता है, उनको भी ओनर बना दो. Give them a large block of shares. अगर उनको आप एक बड़ा ब्लॉक शेयर्स का दे देते हो, then you tell them कि you make sure that every decision that you take results in the company performing very well in the future, as a result of which the share prices will increase. And if the share prices increases, not only will we gain, you will gain, because you today also have a large block of shares. तो ये एक तरीका होता है, अपने शेयर्स में के कुछ हिस्से आप उनको दे दो. Give them that. Let or subsidize the payment of their or the purchase of their shares. In fact, आज के जितने जो आपके जो मल्टीनेशनल कंपनीज हैं, उसमें जो लोग एम्प्लॉइज जो जाते हैं, फ्रॉम द टाइम दे ज्वाइन, दे आर गिवन अ सर्टेन नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स इन द कंपनी. बहुत ज्यादा नहीं, बट दे आर गिवन सम शेयर्स. बेसिकली फॉर दिस, if you work for the company sincerely and the company does well, and as a result of that, if the share prices increase, your personal wealth will also increase because you are a shareholder. दूसरा, you can offer bonuses. कि भाई जो हमारे ऑब्जेक्टिव्स हैं, शेयर होल्डर्स के ऑब्जेक्टिव्स हैं, वेल्थ मैक्सिमाइजेशन वाली ऑब्जेक्टिव, अगर आप फॉलो करेंगे, we will give you special bonuses. Or if you look at, or if you have been reading financial newspapers, so you will see that every CEO of a successful company gets huge bonuses. बहुत बड़े बड़े बोनस इनको मिलते हैं, और मतलब करोड़ों में, huge amounts of bonus are given to them. What is the reason for that? ये भी एक तरीका है कि जो सीईओ है वो उसी रास्ते पर कंपनी को लेके चले जिस रास्ते पे ओनर्स चाहते हैं. सो दीज आर द कॉस्ट्स ऑफ हैविंग अ मैनेजमेंट. एजेंसी सिस्टम के कॉस्ट्स, यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस? दिस इज व्हाई दिस वर्ड इज यूज्ड, एजेंसी कॉस्ट. नाउ लेट अस लुक एट अदर स्टेक होल्डर्स. शुरू में मैंने आपसे पूछा था कि who are the stakeholders. So let's look at these other stakeholders. Apart from the owners, creditors, okay, there are internal shareholders. इनमें से कौन है? Employees. External वाले कौन कौन है? Creditors, suppliers, consumers, government, सोसाइटी. एक बड़ी कंपनी की बहुत सारे स्टेक होल्डर्स, ऑल ऑफ देम हैव सम इंटरेस्ट इन द कंपनी. स्टेक वर्ड ना सिंपली मीन्स कि यू हैव सम इंटरेस्ट इन दैट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. Now that interest may be monetary. It may be because you are an owner, but it may also be because you are working there. It may be because your business is dependent on them. Something or the other, maybe in the case of a consumer, it is because that company produces something which you like. So these points are there. Now for the manager, the biggest problem is that he cannot ignore any group of stakeholders. प्रॉफिट्स बढ़ाना है, एक तरीका ये भी हो सकता है कि सबकी तनख्वाह कम कर दो, सिंपल. बट कैन ही डू दैट? अगर वो वैसे करेगा, देन द परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ द कंपनी इज अफेक्टेड. इफ ही बिगिंस टू से, जैसे वो अपने सप्लायर्स को कहता है कि नहीं भाई आप पैसे ज्यादा मांग रहे हो, मैं आपको इस रेट पे मैं आपसे माल नहीं लूं, आप कम करो रेट. कम तो वो कर देंगे, लेकिन साथ साथ वो क्या करेंगे? क्वालिटी भी खराब करेंगे. If they give you bad quality, it is going to ultimately reflect in the quality of your finished goods. तो आप माने प्रॉफिट बढ़ाने के लिए it is not possible for you to ignore these people. You cannot ignore. See, bankers want a large amount of discipline from you. They want lots of things. We can discuss this some other time, which you are required to do. Because you have borrowed money from them, they expect you to comply with those terms and conditions. But they may not be so suitable for you. हो सकता है आपको नहीं पसंद आए वो चीज. All stakeholders monitor the performance of the manager. ये भी एक चीज. The manager जो है, manager यहाँ पे you understand ना? I am using the word manager for the top management of the company. Please don't confuse with some small middle level manager. The manager here is जितने टॉप लेवल मैनेजर्स हैं, जो सी वाले हैं, सीईओ, सीटीओ, सीएमओ, वो वाले, think of them as one group. Those people are under observation by all the stakeholders. All of them are looking. Most of these stakeholders have some leverage. माने उनके पास में पावर है कुछ. Poor product quality or higher prices will drive away consumers. आप अगर समझते हैं कि consumers सिर्फ आप पर निर्भर हैं, wrong. You are dependent on them because you increase the price, some of them will leave. You decrease the quality, another group will leave. कई तरह के लोग हैं यहाँ ना. Irregular payment will result in legal action from creditors and suppliers. पैसे बैंक को ना दो आप, फिर देखो मजा. What will happen? You will have a huge problem with your credit rating. ये वाले बैंक तो परेशान करेंगे. फ्यूचर में भी your interest rate is likely to go up because the credit rating agencies like CIBIL and all will pick this up कि भाई ये बंदा तो पैसे देता नहीं है टाइम पर, इसको अगर पैसे देना है तो इट्स ए रिस्की प्रोपोजिशन. अगर रिस्क ज्यादा है तो भाई रिटर्न ज्यादा चाहिए, इंटरेस्ट रेट ज्यादा लो. तो एवरीथिंग इज लिंक्ड. वायलेशन ऑफ लॉज विल लीड टू एक्शन बाय गवर्नमेंट. ये तो हम देखते ही रहते हैं. इसके पीछे ईडी लगा दिया गया, उसके पीछे लगा दिया गया. फॉर व्हाट? फॉर वायलेशन ऑफ लॉज. पॉलिटिकल वाला छोड़, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द एक्चुअल, जहां पे किसी ने कोई लॉ वायलेट किया है. द गवर्नमेंट एज अ स्टेक होल्डर ऑल्सो वॉन्ट्स यू टू फॉलो अ सर्टन, मेंटेन द लॉज ऑफ द नेशन. यू डोंट डू दैट, देयर इज अ पेनल्टी. तो वो भी आपको करना है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, pollution के norms. Now, to meet the pollution norms, you will have to put up certain plants in your factory, which will ensure the treatment of waste material. But before the waste is discharged into the air, or it is discharged into the soil or into the water, it has to be treated. There is a cost. अगर वो आप ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट लगाएंगे, नेचुरली देयर विल बी अ कॉस्ट. ये जो हमारे रिवर पोल्यूशन है, व्हाट इज द रीजन फॉर? बिकॉज कंपनीज आर डिस्चार्जिंग देयर एफ्लुएंट्स, जो उनके वेस्ट प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, दे आर डिस्चार्जिंग देम इनटू द रिवर विदाउट ट्रीटमेंट. ठीक है? बिकॉज दे डू नॉट वांट टू basically engage with the problem and bear that cost. तो अगर आप ऐसा करते हैं, सोसाइटी में आपकी क्या इमेज है? एक। दूसरा कि जिस दिन गवर्नमेंट की इच्छा होगी, दे विल पुट यू बिहाइंड बार्स, और बहुत लंबा चौड़ा फाइन आपसे लिया जाएगा, जो हो सकता है कि लेना का देना पड़ जाए। जितने पैसे आप बचा लिए उस प्लांट को, ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट को नहीं लगा के, उससे कहीं ज्यादा आपने दे दिया गवर्नमेंट को इन फाइन्स, और जो परेशानी आपको हुई उसके चलते। सो ईच स्टेक होल्डर हैज सम लेवरेज which they can use to ensure that you comply with whatever they need. Okay? Employees can impact performance. ये तो सबसे सिंपल है। ट्रेड यूनियंस होते हैं इनके, ट्रेड यूनियंस का डायरेक्टर भी बोर्ड में होता है। This person is responsible for ensuring that the benefits to the employees are not reduced in any way. अगर किसी एम्प्लॉय के साथ कुछ दुर्घटना हो जाती है, तो व्हाट डज दिस पर्सन वांट? ही वांट्स दैट यू गिव देम एडिक्वेट कॉम्पेंसेशन. All these things are, there is a cost. See, basic point is, as finance people, we are interested here in the monetary aspect of this. So anybody who has leverage over the company, any stakeholder, to handle that fellow, you pay. And there is always a cost. Okay. Creditors can apply pressure and impact decisions. Consumers can switch to other companies. And sometimes these interests can conflict with each other. In the long run, the shareholder wealth maximization may be achieved only when the interests of all stakeholders are taken into account. This is known as the stakeholder theory. वो कहता है जो corporate objective है, it cannot be confined just to wealth maximization. It has to look at stakeholder, all stakeholders, सभी के हित में अगर आप काम कर सकते हैं, and it is not an easy thing. There will always be a conflict, and आपको as a CEO, like we said, it is a tightrope walk. It's a tightrope walk where you will have to balance the needs of different stakeholders. Managers have to reconcile conflicting interests of different stakeholders. For example, workers may want some necessary welfare schemes for themselves, canteen, parking, more leave, etc. But majority shareholders, जो होंगे, जो investors हैं, they are interested only in profits. और अगर आप वर्कर की बात मानते हैं तो इनकी प्रॉफिट्स कम जाएगी, इनकी बात मानो तो वर्कर्स जो है वो नाराज हो जाते हैं. You begin to have trade union problems. So it's a very, very tricky world. Government guidelines may dictate treatment of waste and effluents, but this may be sacrificed at the altar of profit. तो ये जो सारी चीजें हैं, all these things are part of the decision making process. और ये सभी चीजों को आपको देखना पड़ता है when you are framing your objectives. आप माने बहुत बड़ा सा एक प्रॉफिट टारगेट आप और या रिटर्न का आप टारगेट ले लेते हैं विदाउट कंसिडरिंग दीज कॉस्ट्स, तो फिर बाद में गलत होगा. पीपल विल बी डिसअपॉइंटेड कि भाई सीईओ साहब कह रहे थे कि 20% होगा, एक्चुअली भाई 12-13 पर ही रह गया. क्यों ऐसा हुआ? बिकॉज ऑफ दीज कॉस्ट. सो दिस इज वन पॉइंट टू ऑलवेज रिमेंबर. क्रिटिकल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स, अब कुछ एग्जांपल्स आपको दे रहे हैं. In today's world, one way of reducing cost is to go for extreme automation. ये एक एग्जांपल आप देखिए यहाँ. So, AI is making it possible to replace many of the jobs done by humans. हम पढ़ते रहते हैं ना कि जो काम इंसान कर रहे हैं वो रोबोट्स कर लेंगे. It is estimated that in the Western world, up to 47% of jobs may be lost due to आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस। एक for the management, the conflict between the interest of the employees who stand to lose their jobs, अगर वो टेक्नोलॉजी की तरफ जाते हैं, and the bottom line, more profits, is a very tough one. देखिए, जो यहाँ पर मैनेजमेंट या ओनर है, अगर वो सिर्फ प्रॉफिट की ओर, मतलब वो ये रहेगा, सिर्फ प्रॉफिट चाहिए उसको, then what happens? He may prefer to go for technology. यहाँ ट्रेड यूनियंस तो होंगे नहीं, ना प्रोडक्टिविटी कभी कम होगी, एवरीथिंग इज गोइंग टू गो स्मूथली। एम्प्लॉयज को निकालो, टेक्नोलॉजी ले आओ। इनफैक्ट मेनी कंपनीज आर डूइंग दिस, बट देन you are doing it at the cost of your employees. Maybe tomorrow a situation will come जहां आपकी कंपनी में अच्छे एम्प्लॉयज आपको ना मिले. This problem can be there. यूएस में ड्राइवरलेस ट्रक्स का एक कॉन्सेप्ट है, और हो सकता है ये हो भी जाए. अगर ऐसा हुआ तो जो वहां के ट्रांसपोर्ट कंपनीज हैं, इनको सिर्फ प्रॉफिट चाहिए, मे बी दे विल प्रेफर टू हैव ड्राइवरलेस ट्रक्स, और ड्राइवर्स जो हैं उनको वो निकाल दें. वी डोंट नीड ड्राइवर्स, एक मिनिमम स्टाफ रख लेते हैं फॉर सम जॉब्स दैट मशीन्स कैन नॉट डू, और बाकी हमारे जो ट्रक्स हैं वो अपना सब कुछ कर लेगी. Just think of this scenario, because these are things which that manager will ultimately have to decide. And जहां पर हो सकता है कि the owner may put pressure. In the US this must be happening. There will be pressure कि भाई आपको उन ड्राइवर्स के बारे में नहीं सोचना है. You think about the person who owns the company. See, so these are critical conflicts. एजेंसी प्रॉब्लम से हमने इस पूरे सेक्शन को शुरू किया था, and we have reached this point where it goes beyond agency into a problem where society itself is being affected. लेकिन this is the nature of the problem. इस चीज को you have to understand. Another example, सस्ता सा example है कि robots are already being used to make cars. Workers have lost their jobs. Assembly line में पहले workers होते थे, अब कई जगह even in India, अगर आप जो बड़े बड़े जो ऑटो मेजर्स हैं, जो कंपनीज हैं, if you look at their factories, you will see robots working there on the assembly line. Now, another way of looking at this shareholder wealth management is to think of this not as a goal. मतलब शेयर होल्डर वेल्थ को बढ़ाना एक गोल नहीं है, लेकिन वो एक सोचने का तरीका है. इट इज अ लेट्स से वन ऑफ द स्टैंडर्ड्स विथ विच आई मेजर माय डिसीजन. जैसे हाउ डज शेयर होल्डर वेल्थ मैनेजमेंट इम्पैक्ट द डिसीजन मेकिंग ऑफ द कंपनी. So you think of it as a decision criterion and not an objective. डिसीजन लेने के पहले हम इस चीज को कंसिडर करेंगे. ऑब्जेक्टिव्स जो है किसी भी कंपनी के, वो तो उसके मिशन स्टेटमेंट में है, क्लियर. स्ट्रैटेजी जो है वो हमने डिजाइन कर दिया अराउंड द ऑब्जेक्टिव्स एंड डिफाइंस द मार्केट प्रोडक्ट्स एंड टेक्नोलॉजी. जो भी हमने स्ट्रैटेजी बनाया, अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट हमने अपना मार्केट्स को सिलेक्ट किया, उसी हिसाब से हमने प्रोडक्ट्स बनाया, वी यूज टेक्नोलॉजी, वो सब कुछ हो गया. To support the strategy, the firm lays down policies in production, marketing, purchase, technology, finance. We have discussed this. The first step in the corporate decision-making process is to see that it is consistent with the strategy. जो भी corporate decision-making आपका हो रहा है, it has to be as per the strategy that you thought of. जो strategy is based on your mission, vision, etc. Second step is to ensure this strategy results in wealth maximization, that it meets a minimum standard of economic performance. मतलब हम एक चेंज ला रहे हैं, वी आर इंट्रोड्यूसिंग दिस वर्ड मिनिमम स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ इकोनॉमिक परफॉर्मेंस. मतलब हम सबसे ज्यादा अच्छा जो रिजल्ट्स हो सकता था, हम उसको अपना टारगेट नहीं बनाएंगे. वी विल से कि ओनर्स डिजर्व टू गेट एट लीस्ट दिस मच. कम से कम इतना तो उनको मिलना ही चाहिए. जैसे उन्होंने पैसे अगर उन्होंने लगाया है, तो भाई 30% और 40% प्रॉफिट तो पॉसिबल नहीं है, लेकिन इनको कम से कम 15-16 तो मिलना चाहिए. उतना तो हक इनका है. पैसे इन्होंने लगाया, आइडियाज इन लोगों का था, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. वंस वी से दैट, इसका मतलब ये हो गया कि व्हेनेवर आई एम टेकिंग अ डिसीजन, one part of my decision making process is influenced by the mission that I have, the vision that I have, and the strategy that I have made. सेकेंड पार्ट जो हमारा है वो ये है कि चाहे हम कैसा भी डिसीजन लें, लेकिन एक मिनिमम रिटर्न हमारे शेयर होल्डर्स को मिले. इन दोनों चीज को कंबाइन करके चलना है. दैट इज द पॉइंट विच आई एम ट्राइंग टू से कि ये डिसीजन मेकिंग जो है वो एक डिसीजन क्राइटेरियन है. सॉरी, जो शेयर होल्डर वेल्थ मैक्सिमाइजेशन है, दिस इज अ डिसीजन क्राइटेरिया. नाउ एक और इसी में एक और वे में लुक एट दिस इन दिस वे कि द मैनेजमेंट इज अ ट्रस्टी, माने एक रखवाला है. द मैनेजमेंट इज नॉट ओनली एन एजेंट ऑफ द शेयर होल्डर्स बट अ ट्रस्टी ऑफ द अदर स्टेक होल्डर्स. दीप्ति, आर यू लिसनिंग?
Yes, sir.
Note this point. See, before this we were talking about the decision criterion. Take a note of that. Look at this again. Think about it. The other point here is the management is a trustee. And the management is not only an agent of the shareholders, but a trustee of the other stakeholders. Others कौन थे इसमें? और जिसकी बात हम अभी कर रहे थे, the employees, the credit
creditor, supplier,
suppliers, वो
employees.
लोग, उनके भी इंटरेस्ट के एक तरह से रखवाले हैं द मैनेजमेंट. मैनेजमेंट हैज टू इंश्योर कि ये जितने तरह के स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं वो मिलके कंपनी को मैनेज करें, या कंपनी के पॉलिसीज ऐसा हो जो सबके हित को लेके चले. इन द फाइनल एनालिसिस डिसीजंस आर टेकन एज पर द जजमेंट ऑफ द मैनेजमेंट. देखिए, अंत में उन्हीं को लेना है. However we take this, in the final analysis, it is the management who will actually decide. But when the management decides, it has to decide as a trustee of all the stakeholders, not just an agent of the owner. मतलब खेल शुरू वहां से हुआ. खेल हमारी जो है कहां से शुरू हुई? From this point, that the management is a agent. But as the company grows, as it begins to, let's say, spread its tentacles across the economy, many more stakeholders get into the picture, and the management ultimately has to act like a trustee of the stakeholders. So this completes this stakeholder part. After this, we'll move into something which is related to this, but different at the same time, and that is corporate social responsibility. If there are any questions for this, anything you want to clarify, please ask. Deepti, Vivek, anything?
Sir, the decision criteria.
हाँ.
The decision criteria says that owner को minimum इतना percentage तो मिलना चाहिए as they invested the money and their ideas is
हाँ,
in the
हाँ,
company.
हाँ, yes. That
But
is the
sir,
idea. हाँ, please. Go ahead.
but sir, ये भी तो मैनेजमेंट ही डिसाइड कर रहा है ना कि इतना परसेंटेज मिलना चाहिए. तो वो अपने साइड से भी तो कुछ चीजें ऐड ऑन कर सकता है कि इतना मिले और हमारा ये थोड़ा फायदा हो जाए इसमें, ऐसा कुछ।
Who will add on?
मैनेजमेंट।
सी, मैनेजमेंट का जो ये जो डिस्कशन हमारा चल रहा है, मैनेजमेंट को पर्सनल फायदा कब हो सकता है? उसका पर्सनल फायदा तो एक ही सूरत में होना है ना, कंपनी पहले चलती रहे,
यस सर।
nothing to disturb the long term survival of the company. That is the in the interest of the management, because they इनके लिए रोजी रोटी का सवाल है. Okay, this is one
यस
point.
यस
Now the owner, because he invested money, one particular aim in mind, that is to make more and more. So it is the management which is actually acting like a check on the desires of the owner. But the management cannot ignore the fact that he is a owner who needs to get some minimum return. So basically, when he thinks about this, when the manager actually takes a decision, the company is going to move in this particular direction, at that point of time, he will basically just take this as one more dimension in his decision. One is the actual, the objectives of the company, the strategy, the way the company is headed, the interests of the shareholders, other stakeholders, sorry, all that is taken into account. And then another decision criterion, a criterion is what? A measure of one thing which is taken into consideration when the decision is made. That will be the minimum return that we should at least have this much return to give to the management. Remember one thing, it is not just the management to the owner, sorry, minimum return for the owner. And remember, it is not just the owner who needs a good return. A certain minimum return is also required by
for
the
the
stock
management.
market.
Yes.
Because if you don't, you see, if you begin to become a completely social company who is only, sort of producing goods for the benefit of others and doing things like that, what will happen is your own viability financially is going to go down. And the value of your company in the market will also begin to go down. And that will be reflected in the prices of your shares. That issue, so basically that cannot be ignored. But the point I'm trying to make is that is one objective, or let's say one thing to take into account when I'm taking a decision. The other things which I have to take into account relate to the interests of the other stakeholders. That's all. So it's a very tricky thing here, but it has to be done. That is the way these things work. Okay?
Yes, sir. So one more thing.
Please.
ESOP means Employee Stock Ownership Plan.
Or
From my
stock option
graduation.
plan.
Yes, sir. In
Huh.
my graduation, we have studied this in accounts that the company offers EP, ESOP,
ESOP.
ESOP, when on the condition that the employer should work for minimum period of say 5 years or 10 years. He or she can't switch his job at that time, then only the company will offer that share. So if the company offer that share to the management, how it work in reality?
I'll tell you. First of all, what you learned there, nowadays, I can tell you this on the basis of my personal experience. See, nowadays, especially in the foreign companies, so many thousands of Indians are working in these companies. So when the stock options are given, what they say is, the stock option does not vest. You remember the word vesting in stock options. When can you actually sell the share, the stock that we have given? it works like this. Suppose I give you 1,000 shares. Okay, so this is part of your package. I give you 1,000 shares. But the condition is that you cannot sell these shares before a certain period of time. So let's say after 1 year, you will be able to sell 30% of whatever shares I give. After 2 years, you can sell another 30%, like that. Now, once you leave the company, let's say you work for 2 years. So for 2 years, you will be able to actually sell the share if you find that the value is good. If it is not good, you will retain the shares. But the way, whatever you studied in graduation with regard to the stock option working like a bond, like you have to work for so many years. Normally, this will not happen nowadays. This doesn't happen. It's not like that. Yes, it's not like this. I give you the share today and you can sell it today. That will not happen also. There are certain periods laid down. Out of the total number of shares that I've given you, so many will vest in 1 year, so much will vest in 2 years, so much will vest in 3 years, etc. It is like that. The other thing is, when you give shares to the top management, you cannot have conditions like that. So those people, they are professionals and they are sought after people. If you try to make that a condition, they will not join your company. They will say, you keep your job. See, they are at the top of their field. So if you don't want to give a job, I'll go to some other company. And they will dictate, we want so much stock. You have to give it. So as far as the ESOP is concerned, ultimately, Dipti, it is a matter of negotiation. It's a matter of negotiation between the person you are hiring, CEO, and the owner. It depends on that.
Yes.
But generally, it is a very handsome thing, that ESOP part. And the logic, like I told you, was make the company, make the CEO, the top management, part of your team. Make him a big shareholder so that he has an interest in the value of the share going up. Whenever the value of the share goes up, his personal wealth goes up because he has the option to sell his shares. So remember this point. That is the main takeaway from that. Okay. Now we come to something which is not financial exactly, but which has let's say, in a different way, an indirect way, it helps the reputation of the company. So CSR, once again, you would have studied this in your BCom, self-regulating business model that helps a company to be socially accountable to itself, its stakeholders, and the public. That is the definition. Also referred to as corporate citizenship. Companies can be conscious of the kind of impact they're having in all aspects of society, including economic, social, environmental. So basically, what this is saying is that when a company begins to function, it is functioning within an economy, within a society, and obviously it is functioning on the planet Earth. So it is having an impact on the planet itself through what it takes, what raw materials it takes, through what it emits. जो pollutants हैं, जो the waste products जो company का है, जो which is emitted into the earth, in the air, the water, the soil, whatever. Now, corporate social responsibility का concept ये था कि let the company be conscious of this. कि अगर आप पैसे बना रहे हैं तो इसकी एक कीमत है. You are taking something from the environment. You are taking something from society. You are earning a lot of money. Therefore, you have a responsibility to give back something. Normally what happens is, if the company is successful, the amount of money that they actually earn is very, very high. बहुत disproportionately high होता है. Employees की salary तो बढ़ती है वही increments में. But if you look at the way the wealth of a company grows, it grows huge, huge amounts of wealth that the company actually generates and which it retains for itself. So what this concept is, that let this be a way for the company to give back something voluntarily to society. And for the company, it makes sense to engage with CSR because it will be contributing positively to society. And when it contributes positively, it has an impact on its own image. Now, it can take many forms depending on the industry. Companies that adopt CSR programs have often grown their business to the point where they can give back to society. तो कुछ कंपनी की साइज ठीक ठाक से हो जाए, उसके बाद से ही हम एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं कि कंपनी विल गिव मी समथिंग बैक. If I'm a small company right now, for me it is a question of existence. Obviously, at this stage, I'm not expecting the company to give back things. So it is typically a strategy implemented by large corporations, is one part. Now, there is a schedule of CSR activities. Government has come out with a schedule कि अगर आपको कोई activity करना है तो do it in these things. If you do it in these things, we will consider this as a legitimate CSR activity by the company. Because as per the law, if the company, we'll come to that point, yes, to a certain extent, CSR is mandatory also. इतना खर्च हर हालत में करना ही है. Now, कहाँ करना है? So they can do it on some of these things. For example, eradicating poverty, hunger and malnutrition, promoting healthcare, which includes sanitation and preventive healthcare, contribution to the Swachh Bharat Kosh, set up by the central government for the promotion of sanitation. ये आजकल की चीज है. कि भाई खुद मैं करना नहीं चाहता हूं, मैं सरकार को पैसे दे देता हूं. Even that is done. From the point of view of the company, it is a part of its brand image. For example, all of us are aware of the work Tata does for, yesterday also I was telling Vivek, the work it has done in CSR for Indian sports is something which no other company has done. So today, right now, there is a tournament going on in Turkey on archery. If you have Sony Sports or some such channel, and you look, you will find that they are making live telecasts of this archery. Tirandazi, archery. Now, the girl representing India there is a tribal girl who has been trained at the academy which Tata has set up. So basically what happens is, when you see a young archer out there representing the country, somewhere at the back of your mind, you're thinking, if this company made it possible. And that has an impact on the brand. So ultimately, the CSR activities become a component of company's public relations. The relations it has with the public. And there are some company founders who, for the Tatas are again a very good example. Narayan Murthy is another example. Azim Bhai Premji, Wipro man, he's another example. They sometimes have their own convictions कि नहीं हमें ये करना चाहिए. We are getting so much, it is our duty to give back. और जब ये होता है, then the CSR becomes even better. Now, इस चीज को समझने के लिए कि why CSR can be very important for companies, let us try to understand this concept. Maybe you may not have heard of this word, which is externality. External से बना है, something which is outside, something which is outside the company in this case. Some impact your company is having, which you did not plan for. You did not actually think that this is going to happen. So it can be a positive thing. It can be a negative thing also. Let's look at this part. Look at this photo here. What are you seeing?
Sewage.
So basically a polluted water. Water, it's like a nala, and there is a lot of pollution. Now, why is there pollution? Because some company is discharging its effluents into this nala. ठीक है? ये एक negative externality. Something which the company has done, which has no impact on the company, except maybe on its image, but it has an impact on society. There is a social cost to this. इसके चलते let's say अगर ये जो soil जो polluted हुआ because of this water, इसके चलते अगर बीमारियां बढ़ गई इस एरिया में, all these are the social cost which the company has. Now, इसके चलते एक और चीज होता है, जो प्रॉपर्टी वैल्यूज हैं इधर आसपास में, that will also go down because of this pollution. So an externality is a cost or benefit. Benefits भी हो सकता है, caused by a producer that is not financially incurred or received by that producer. मतलब कि यहां पर जो कुछ भी हुआ है, इसका कोई फाइनेंशियल पार्ट is not part of a financial decision made by the company. इसके बारे में तो कंपनी एक तरह से सोची भी नहीं थी regarding this. Now, externality can be both positive or negative and can stem from either the production or consumption of good or service. Can be both private to an individual or an organization, or social, meaning it can affect society as a whole. इसका examples negative externality का तो बहुत simple है कि every time a company discharges its effluents into the atmosphere or into the soil or the water, it is automatically creating a situation where society and the environment are suffering. People are suffering. So that is a clear negative externality. Positive externality क्या हो सकता है? Anything you can think positive? ये तो negative side हो गया, which is एक फोटो आप यहाँ डाल दिया, it's very clear, you can see this. What can be the positive externality?
So planting more trees or
that is a CSR activity. वो वाला नहीं.
Yes, sir.
Without, see, the company will not do anything. The company will simply do what it does. वो अपना अगर कुछ प्रोड्यूस करती है तो वही प्रोड्यूस करेगी. While it goes about its activities, side by side, an externality is being created. Now, this externality in this particular case is negative because of pollution. It can also be positive. Positive वाला का शक्ल कैसा हो सकता है? And there are very good positive externalities also. ऐसा नहीं है कि everything is negative.
Treatment.
नहीं, not like that. Treatment is a cost, no? Think
More.
the question you should ask.
Distributing their products as free for the consumers, or
The products
buy
are
one get one
नहीं,
offers.
that is a marketing policy. वो तो एक सेल्स पॉलिसी है, वो नहीं. Think of something, some gain that society got because the company was founded there. कुछ फायदा हुआ क्या सोसाइटी को कंपनी के आने से?
Employment.
Infosys,
Employment.
yes. So the employment part, see, the company wanted people. It was not out to create employment. That was not its policy. Policy of the company was that I need people to man the machines. I need people to man my research laboratories, to do man the computers. उसके लिए मुझे चाहिए. उसके लिए लोग आने लगे and society gains from the employment that is created. बैंगलोर शहर की जो आज जो साइज है और जो रेपुटेशन है, that you can think of as an externality of the software companies which have come up there, starting with Infosys. वरना Bangalore was a pensioners paradise. कोई जमाना था कि Bangalore, that generation is already gone, I think, which knew Bangalore as a pensioners paradise. लोग वहां जाते थे, मौसम बहुत अच्छा है. It was a sleepy little place. और उस समय की किताबें वगैरह आप पढ़ेंगे तो यू विल बी एस्टोनिश्ड कि दिस वाज बैंगलोर. बट व्हाट हैपेंड वाज व्हेन नारायण मूर्ति एंड हिज फ्रेंड्स डिसाइडेड टू सेट अप इन्फोसिस देयर, और ये जो बड़ी कंपनीज वहां आने लगी, एंड जैसे जैसे इट बिगैन टू जनरेट एम्प्लॉयमेंट, thousands and thousands of employees were given employment there. उनके जो रिक्वायरमेंट्स थे हाउसिंग के, फूडिंग के, लॉजिंग के, जितने तरह के रिक्वायरमेंट्स थे, उसके चलते वो शहर भी बड़ा होता गया. सो दिस इज जस्ट वन वे ऑफ थिंकिंग ऑफ इट कि मेनी टाइम्स अगर कोई कंपनी मतलब सिर्फ अपना काम करती है, इट इज नॉट इवन कॉन्शियसली ट्राइंग टू मेक बैंगलोर अ बिग सिटी. Infosys was more interested in simply doing its job. जो भी उसका विजन मिशन था उसको फुलफिल करने के लिए वहां पर वो शुरू हुआ. But gradually something else happened which is external to the actual decisions of Infosys. They did not consciously try to do those things, लेकिन वो हो गया. That is the positive externality there. Just like this bad externality here, this negative externality is also like that. कि ये तो बहुत visible है, but think of the type of externality which is related to air pollution, जहां पे visible भी वो नहीं है, लेकिन over a period of time वेदर पैटर्न्स चेंज करने लगते हैं, उस एरिया के जो मतलब ग्रीनरी है वो कम हो जाती है, लॉट्स ऑफ थिंग्स हैपन. नाउ द क्वेश्चन व्हिच कम्स हियर एंड व्हिच वी विल डिस्कस नेक्स्ट टाइम विल बी दिस कि ये किसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, हु इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दिस, और अगर कंपनी रिस्पॉन्सिबल है तो क्या किया जा सकता. शुड बी शट डाउन द कंपनी, क्या हम ऐसा करें. थिंक अबाउट दीज थिंग्स. मीनवाइल व्हाट आई डू इज कि जो पहला वाला जो प्रेजेंटेशन था उस स्लाइड्स को मैं आपको भेज दूंगा आपको. दीप्ति, आई थिंक यू आर डूइंग अ वेरी गुड थिंग, यू आर लुकिंग एट द यूट्यूब वीडियोस, दैट इज वेरी गुड. विवेक, आपको भी समय मिले तो रिवीजन के तौर पर आप वीडियोस को जरूर देख लीजिएगा. एंड
यस सर.
ठीक है, तो since we have reached this point where एक नेचुरल ये आ रहा है, ब्रेक आ रहा है टॉपिक, तो we can stop here and continue this discussion next Saturday. Okay?
Okay, sir.
And so thank you, both of you. Nice class. I think both of you participated well. I hope you enjoyed the class.
Yes,
Learned
sir.
something today.
Yes, sir.
Okay then. ठीक then, bye.